Do you know what I've been obsessed with lately? Books with unhinged characters. I don't know, there's just something about them that just makes them so interesting to read about. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, I guess I just love reading about characters slowly going insane. Anyway, I picked out a list of books that has unhinged main characters in them, and I'm just gonna recommend them to you. The first one that I have here is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I know this is a really popular book, and it's about a girl who decides to take a bunch of pills, do nothing, and just sleep for an entire year in an attempt to escape all of her problems. I mean, same bestie, I wish I could do that. We have a really unlikable narrator, and it's honestly unhinged, and I just really enjoyed it. I have to say though, this is definitely one of those novels that doesn't have any plot, but it's more of a character study because you spend most of the time the narrator's head and just reading about her internal monologue. Okay, not only was the main character unlikable, but I thought the side characters were just as horrible as well. There really isn't one nice character throughout the entire book, like girl really needed to get some better friends. Overall, I really enjoyed this and I definitely want to read more of this author's work. Next up, I have The Bell Jar, and this book is definitely for all the unhinged and unstable people, and I love that. We essentially follow the main character Esther throughout the book, and we're just slowly watching her mental state deteriorate as the story progresses and her just losing her sanity. So yeah, it gets dark pretty quick, so I would highly recommend checking out the trigger warnings first if you're actually planning to read this book. Moving on, I have The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and I don't think you get more unhinged than this book. I mean, there's literally a murder in the very first chapter, so the story only gets worse from there. This is definitely one of my favorite books of all time, and also it's dark academia, and that's like one of my favorite things to read about. And of course, it's unhinged. This book is just full of terrible people. Pretty much every character you meet is awful one way or another, but I also think that's what makes the characters so interesting because you can't help but be intrigued by them. But I have to warn you though, this book is really long, it's like 600 pages plus, so it definitely took me a really long time to finish this whole thing. Next up, I have Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, and this is possibly one of the most creepy and disturbing books that I've read. So the whole thing is told in emails and instant messages set in the early 2000s. We sort of follow two people meeting in an internet chat room for the very first time, and at first it was just normal conversation, but things slowly get more twisted and horrifying as the book progresses. This book is honestly so weird and creepy, and it definitely stays in your head even after you've read it. And last but not least, I have played As It Lays by Joan Didion, and in this we follow the life of an American actress in the late 1960s, I believe, and her whole world is just going on a downward spiral. Her career isn't really going anywhere, and her life is just straight up chaotic. This book is very existential, definitely a little depressing, so maybe don't read it if you're going through it at the moment, but I really did enjoy this. Joe Didion's writing style is just so beautiful, and I would honestly underline every quote if I could. Okay, I think that was it. Those are all the books that I love that has unhinged main characters in them, and I definitely would like to try and read more books like this in the future.